Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. Hey, what's up everybody? Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week, in fact, the first pick of the week for 2024, because this is, in fact, the first new comic book day for 2024. And the first pick of the week goes to Batman 141 from DC Comics, written by Chip Zdarsky, artwork by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tormu Mori. Really fascinating, cool, fun, exciting, and dynamic stuff here in the pages of Batman. So Chip has been doing a pretty solid job on Batman. His first arc, the Failsafe arc, I absolutely loved. It was anchored by that kinetic artwork from Jorge Jimenez. The second arc, we had a little bit more static artwork. Didn't really quite work for me, but by the end of that arc, it really set up some exciting stuff with the idea that Batman has been possessed by a multiverse of Zur-En-Ars, right? So now in the latest bit, we have him finally confronting the whole Zur-En-Ar manifestation in the back of his brain, and it's now all tied together to Failsafe, where Zur-En-Ar has plans for Failsafe that pits Batman up against not just Zur-En-Ar, not just a multiverse of Zur-En-Ars, but Failsafe as well. So Failsafe is back. Jorge Jimenez is on this issue. Amazing action throughout. It is absolutely scintillating. The action pace, the speed, the momentum, the weight and gravity of the situation, making it feel actually dire. Some really interesting stuff's been going on in the pages of Batman. It's been a little bit up and down depending on the artist, but when Jorge is on this book and Chip's ideas are being realized to full potential, it works so frickin' well. So Batman 141 is your first pick of the week for 2024. Then we got a new one from DC, Kneel Before Zod. Issue number 1. This is the first part, This is the first part of a mini-series. It's written by Joe Casey. It's got artwork by, is it Dan McDade? Dan McDade. Coloring by David Barron. I really liked this. If you're an old school fun Superman fan, you might want to check this one out. Joe Casey had a run on Adventures of Superman back in the day that I thought was absolutely fantastic. He did it with Mike Wieringo and a few other artists. This is during the time when like Joe Kelly and Jeff Loeb were on the titles. But I really like Joe Casey's writing. I really like his approach and take on Superman. And I'll tell you what, I love his take and approach on Zod. So Zod is off on another planet trying to build a new version of Kandor. He's kind of got approval from the United Planets, but not full approval. He's got a son, he's got a wife, and he's just, about trying to make a new world for Kryptonians, but there's some nefarious plans that he's got brewing in the works. This shows you all of that, all the complexities of his family dynamic. It shows you a little bit about his character, how it connects to Jor-El back in the past. So even if you're not familiar with the character of Zod, you can jump right into here. It catches you up. But it also just really shows you how incredibly menacing and powerful Zod can be. I absolutely love it. The only thing, and I beg you, DC, get rid of that stupid beard thing that Zod has now. It makes no sense. Just make him look like Terrence Stamp. That's really all we need. That's a really solid book, though. Then we got Shazam here with issue number 7. Shazam has been one of DC's best, most consistently solid superhero books that they've been publishing month in and month out. Now, in this issue, we don't have Dan Mora on the artwork, but we do have Zootsuka, Goran Zootsuka, which has a very clean, Chris Samney, classic type approach to it that I really do enjoy. This was a really fun issue. Even if you're worried about Dan Mora stepping off, the excitement, the fun, and the energy is still there, provided by Mark Waid, and of course the art. The art's not very comparable to what Dan Mora does, but the vibe and flow of the story is, and everything that's been building up to is now ramping right back up. All of the bureaucratic dinosaurs from space, all that stuff's coming back around, and now you got Black Adam involved as well. Great, consistent superhero action from Mark Waid and company with the pages of Shazam. Then we got Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, issue number 5. I believe This is the penultimate issue. This is a fun book. It's not going to take itself too seriously. Don't expect too much out of the book, but I have a lot of fun with it. It feels like it's filled with whimsy, actual heart, and charm. I love the characters of Fire and Ice, and I love this interpretation of them down on their luck, stuck in Smallville, working at a salon, trying to keep it together, fractured relationships and all that kind of stuff, and then zany, kooky, weird, D-list supervillains out of nowhere just in the middle of everything, and then you throw in a dash of Lobo in the last issue. But I like this book. I like the art. It's clean. It's got that comedic kind of style to it. It's got great comedic timing, so I really like this issue. I really like this series, but trust me, it ain't the greatest thing in the world, but it knows it's not, and so it's not trying to be, and that's why I really like this book. I do want to say something about DC's paper quality this week. On most of their books, it seems like they've gone, here's Poison Ivy number 18, we're about to get to this, but it seems on most of their books that they've gone like a little bit glossier on the interior, but the cover is a lot flimsier, so it's a really big dip in quality on the actual paper quality of the books from DC. I hope this isn't a trend that's going to continue throughout all of 2024, because it's pretty ridiculous. However, just wanted to let you know, yeah, they're very thin and kind of shitty this week as far as quality goes. Poison Ivy number 18. This was an alright issue of Poison Ivy. Things are progressing forward. Things are building up and erupting, actually. And in this one, Pamela's dealing with some kind of growth. It ties back to everything that's being built up by G. Willow Wilson, the writer on this series, since day one. I've really enjoyed this series. I've really enjoyed this characterization of Pamela Isley. The art here is Luana Vecchio. Really love her work on a book like Lovesick. On here, it's just not quite singing for me. It's okay. This feels like a little bit of a rushed issue, but it's also a very essential issue because it does tie in a lot of stuff that's been building up into where the story is going and developing, and it's got a pretty cool, solid cover there. Then we got Titans Beast World Tour Atlantis. It's so weird to say that because the book is called Titans Beast World. Now this is Titans Beast World Tour. So I want to say Titans Beast World Tour Atlantis, but it's actually Titans Beast World Tour Atlantis. Anyway, they've done a few of these already. They did a Gotham City one, Central City, Metropolis, all focusing in on the Bat family, the Flash family, and the Super family. And this one, of course, is the Atlantis one, so it's dealing with the Aqua family. I guess that's what we call them. So the main story in here has artwork by Ricardo Federico, and it's all right. It's pretty decent. It's nice looking artwork, but it sometimes feels a little bit stiff in the story. But it's Aquaman dealing with the threat of the Beast People unleashed in Atlantis. Then there's a story that ties into the stuff from Amanda Waller. Black Manta got turned into a Manta, so it's about this new team, the Kingdom, kind of coming in there. Then the last story is an Aqua Lad focused story, the Jackson Aqua Lad, and it was just all right. So me personally, I'm a huge Aquaman fan, so I'm just excited to have another Aquaman book, but it wasn't super essential or anything like that. There's some stuff in here about Tempest, and like it's like a good go-between between this and Titans number 6, but it's not essential, it's not needed. But if you are fiending for Aquaman material like I am, here you go. You know, guys got a giant movie out. You think that they would celebrate it a little bit, but I guess they knew what was going to happen. They could see the writing on the wall. Then we got Superman 78 here with the Metal Curtain, issue number 3. This is basically Superman 4, right? So they did Superman 78, which was kind of like continuing the stories in the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner world, and that's what this is doing as well. The last one dealt with Brainiac, and this one's dealing with Metallo. Metallo being part of the Soviet Union, and it's playing around with the whole idea of the Soviets versus the Americans, the Cold War 80s mentality, things like Rocky IV. This would fit right in if this was a film produced at that time, instead of the seriously terrible one they did with Nuclear Man. But I like this. It's a nice, easy, breezy read. Robert Venditti has a great grasp on these characters and on the pace and the flow and even the humor of those Superman books. And Gavin Guidry does a great job here with the artwork, just being classic, being refined, and being precise. Jordi Belair doing a solid job on the coloring as well, so I like that. Let's jump over to Marvel. We got Vengeance of the Moon Knight, issue number 1. So in Moon Knight number 30, Mark Spector dies. So Moon Knight's not anymore. He's dead. He's done. but now there's a new Moon Knight. But before we get introduced to the new Moon Knight, let's establish the new status quo of the Midnight Mission. One of the things I love about what Jed MacKay has done in the pages of his Moon Knight run is build up a really cool supporting cast of characters around Mark, Steven, Jake, Mooney, you know? So Vengeance of Moon Knight #1 directly continues. It's the exact same team. It's Jed MacKay. It's Alessandro Capicchio. So the artwork is dynamic and it's cool. We take some time basically filling in the gaps between the death of Mark Spector and where we are now and introducing this new iteration of Moon Knight. So if you're liking Moon Knight, no reason why you're not going to like this. I know it's always obnoxious when there's a new #1, a new reboot, but this is a direct continuation of that story. Moon Knight's been one of Marvel's best, most solid books in years, so definitely worth checking out if you like that. I did grab the Frank Miller cover because I think that's cool, and I like the digital screen tone on it. So there you go. Now we got the Fall of the House of X, issue #1. So Fall of the House of X, Rise of the Powers of 10. This is the end cap, if you will, to the entire Krakoan era. I loved House of X and Powers of 10 when that stuff first came out. Absolutely loved it. When Hickman started falling out of it, I started falling out of it. And when Hickman was done, I was pretty much done. I don't cover the X-Men books because I just don't like them, and I don't want to just keep talking about books I don't like. I'd rather focus in more on the stuff that I do like, unless it's Amazing Spider-Man. For some reason, I can never let that one go. But I am excited for the end of the Krakoan era, and I want to know how it's going to wrap up so that we can see how we're going to pull things back together for the X-Men relaunch that's happening later this year. But Fall of the House of X was just alright. If you fell out of the X-Men stuff, you can jump right back in. They catch you up. It's not difficult. Really, all you need to read is that last Hellfire Gala. You can jump straight into this because everything else in between, it's just kind of there. But it was alright. Didn't do much for me, but I haven't been super plugged into it. Didn't read bad. It had a nice pace with the script, but the art was just a little bit clunky for me. Didn't quite live up to like the Pepe Larraz artwork that we got in the original House of X. So, it's finally coming to an end. That's sad for some people. It's exciting for other people. And then other people like me are just like, I don't care. I just want a good comic. Tell me a good story. Then we got, I almost said Kingdom Venom. Kid Venom Origins issue #1. This is a one-shot comic that is collecting all of the Kid Venom short stories from the Death of Venomverse book. I dropped out of that book after a couple issues, so I didn't really read much of this Kid Venom stuff. So I read this one. It's got a really interesting manga kind of flair and style to it. It was dynamic. It was interesting enough. It didn't completely compel me and pull me in, but if you missed out on Death of Venomverse and you do want to check out the new ongoing or the new limited series, Kid Venom, this is kind of like your 0 issue. Issue #1 of the series proper is on its way, but if you like that manga art, if you like that kind of vibe and flavor and want to see it applied to a different take on a classic-ish character from Marvel, maybe Kid Venom Origins is right up your speed. Right up your speed? Really mixing metaphors today. Then we got Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, issue #1. Another Spider-Man 2099 miniseries written by Steve Orlando, directly continuing on from the last one, Dark Genesis. I fell out of that one. I like Spider-Man 2099 as a character, as a design, as a concept, but I can never just really get super invested in his runs, and I always fall out of them, and every time it reboots, I try to jump back into it, and it's just not working for me. I feel a little bit lost. Now, obviously, I haven't been invested in this story. It's got some interesting stuff they're playing with. The Living Zombie of 2099. There's a Blade 2099 that's in here. It's decent. It's okay. The art's not bad. The coloring's pretty cool, but nothing really completely grabbed me in and engaged me. Then we got Marvel Meow, issue #1. This is a one-shot comic book collecting some of those digital-first Marvel Unlimited shorts that involve the cats of the Marvel Universe. It is silly, it is goofy, but it is kind of charming. It is cute, it's furry, and if you like cats and you like Marvel, you might want to check it out, but do not expect much. They are all just a bunch of silly little short stories, but like I said, cat lovers, you might want to check this out, but it is $6. They're mostly silent comics. There's not a lot to it. Then we got Doctor Strange, issue number 11. This is a one-off story, like a self-contained story, picking up after the big epic finale of issue number 10. We have Clea and Doctor Strange babysitting Clea's baby sister. Clea's baby sister gets loose at like a fair or a circus or something. There's a new circus of crime introduced in the ring masteress, or the ring mistress. Is it the mistress or the masteress? The ring mattress, maybe? What's her name? The ring mistress. Anyway, masteress. Masteress? What is going on? But anyway, Doctor Strange number 11, a really solid self-contained story that fits right in what Jed MacKay's been doing and building up, and even teasing some of the emotional ties between Clea and Doctor Strange and how that will further develop. But the art was a little off. Pascal Ferry's been doing a really good job on this title. So to see somebody, this is Beirut, and it's all right. It's serviceable. It gets the job done, but honestly, it just feels a little bit flat artistically. Then we got Amazing Spider-Man issue 41. The gang war is upon us. There's a big confrontation in this issue between Kingpin and Tombstone, and you got Spider-Man and his company, and Kingpin and his company all caught up in the middle of it. Plus you got other developments going on with the Rose, with Tombstone's daughter, the new Beetle, and it's interesting enough. This is the most compelling stuff about Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man run, has been all of the like street level crime type stuff that's been building up to this, but now that it's happening, it just feels not quite as epic in scope as it needs to be, and I don't really feel the sense of threat or menace. I don't feel that this series has any stakes for some reason. There's just something a little bit off about it. Art's fine, it's okay, but it's not the greatest. So Amazing Spider-Man 41 is definitely making a good case for me to end Spider-Man after Gang War wraps up. Then we got Fantastic Four number 15 here. So since the beginning of this Ryan North run of Fantastic Four, we've had this idea. Early on, we find out that Reed had to take the Baxter Building and their kids inside the Baxter Building and like transport it to the future, but it can't come back for a year until the sun comes back, or because they think they're being clever, and they're like, Joe, yes, we can transport them a year in time, but we also got to account for the space. So as the Earth goes around the sun, if we just time traveled them 6 months down the road, they wouldn't, or the next day, they wouldn't be in the same, they wouldn't occupy the same space. So we have to wait exactly 1 year for them to come back. By the way, last issue, they were supposed to come back, they didn't. This issue focuses in on a threat that has already been introduced in this book that is tied into why the Baxter Building hasn't shown up as Reed plans it to at this current time. The book is okay, it's fine. Great cover by Alex Ross right there with this brain thing. Some really interesting concepts being played with here in this issue of Fantastic Four. Coloring's a little bit too bright, a little bit too gummy, a little bit too plasticky, and it's just not quite working for me artistically still. But the one thing about that concept is, I get it, that makes sense. You would have to wait for the Earth to come right back around, so a year later you could pop back in that same space. Except for, it's not just the Earth that's moving, the sun is also moving. We're rotating around the galactic core. Our galaxy is rotating. All of space is moving. So it's not just this one motion of planet Earth we gotta worry about, right? I don't know. Now, there's also this really cool variant cover for Fantastic Four that I absolutely love from Greg and Ted, or Tim? Tim Hildebrandt. They did the Marvel Masterpieces Volume 3, if you remember, and so they're doing variant covers of that, and it's really cool to see that Galactus enlarged from that little card size, so I think that's pretty cool. Then we got Thanos here, issue number 2. Christopher Cantwell's run on Thanos continues to just disappoint me. It's overly stupid. Like, it's goofy, and it's not. It's goofy, and it's trying to be fun, but it's dealing with the Illuminati, and it's dealing with Thanos, and it's dealing with death. That should not be a goofy, fun comic. And if that's what you're looking for, then congratulations, you got it right here. But basically, Thanos shows up, steals a city because he's looking for this young woman who has a connection to death, and then, like, the Illuminati are there as this city's being whisked away, and they're trying to protect this woman, but the problem is, it's really goofy. Like, there's a scene in here where, like, Thanos rips, like, the top off of a truck and gets in it, and he's all big, riding in this little truck. He looks like a little kid, one of those, like a Power Wheels or something. that's not threatening. That's not like showing the weight of what Thanos is and what he should be. And everybody loves Thanos. It'd be like if there was a Darth Vader book or a Doctor Doom book where it was just goofy. Well, you know what? They've done those too. All right, then we got Captain America here with issue number 5, and I have stopped reading Captain America, but I did pick up this issue because that's a Jim Rugg variant. There's a Wolverine 50th anniversary variant thing going across Marvel this month, as well as the Hildebrandt thing, as well as other variant cover stuff, and just variant covers all over the damn place. But I do like it when it's Jim Rugg homaging a Jack Kirby classic cover with a bunch of different Wolverines on it, and it's going to warrant 2024's first cover of the week. So there you go. Then we've got Beware the Planet of the Apes, issue number 1. This is written by Mark Guggenheim with artwork by Lopez. Somebody Lopez. Let's find the title page. Start putting them closer to the front. Alvaro Lopez. This was interesting enough. I didn't really vibe too much with the last Planet of the Apes book that David F. Walker did. It just didn't really click for me. I am not, just to be honest, not the hugest fan of Planet of the Apes. I've only seen the original movie, didn't really like it. I saw the Tim Burton one, didn't really like it, and that's all I've seen. I haven't seen any of the Matt Reeves ones. So as I was reading this, I was thinking, I do want to watch all of the classic ones again, like to watch the first one again, watch through all those sequels, the good and the bad and the ugly, skip the Tim Burton one, but I do want to read or watch the new ones because I hear they're fantastic. But this is a prequel to the original Planet of the Apes, so I was like, you know what, I'm familiar with that timeline, I can read this, jump into it, and it was cool. One of the things I like about it is it's taking panels and sometimes pages from the original Planet of the Apes comic books, and it's kind of like putting them together. So it's a little bit of a prequel. If you're a big-time Planet of the Apes fan, you might want to check that out. Let's jump over to Image. And we actually don't have a lot from Image this week, but I did pick up Paklis number 0. So Paklis is a creator-owned book from artist and writer Dustin Weaver. Really like Dustin's work, and I've never really read Paklis. I may have read the first one when it first came out in like 2017 or something, but whatever it is far removed from my memory, okay? So I checked out Paklis number 0 and was very surprised to find out that it wasn't quite what I thought it was. Paklis is a bunch of Dustin Weaver's like not necessarily published, but self-made work before he became a successful artist. So it's a bunch of little short stories dating back to the 90s through the 2000s. One of them is a pitch he did for Wildstorm back in the early 2000s that is totally a Wildcats pitch, because when you're reading it, it's like the Tech Wolves or something, and it's very much in the vein of the Travis Cherie Wildcat stuff that he was doing with Scott Lobdell, I think, at first, and then before that I think he did a lot of the Alan Moore stuff. Anyway, I love Travis Cherie's Wildcats, so that was a cool treat. This was neat, though. Lots of really cool concepts here that don't really get fleshed out, just a bunch of little short stories. So if it's a light week for you and you're a fan of Dustin Weaver, you might want to check this out because it's got some really cool early work from a really solid and talented creator. All right, from Boom Studios, we got a new one, Pine and Merrimac, issue number 1. This is written by Kyle Starks with artwork by Fran Galan. Really nice artwork, really nice coloring, nice sense of emotion, nice sense of pace being played with through here. The dialogue is top notch. So this is about a husband and wife private detective team. He is a retired fighter and she is a retired homicide detective. Her sister was kidnapped and found dead when she was a kid. It inspired her to go and become a homicide detective and hunt down missing children, but she got so just depressed by it and felt just down that she quit, and now they basically just find out if people's partners are cheating on them, right? It has a really great sense of fun and buoyancy and bounciness to it, but it does have some nice weighty high gravity type moments. Kyle Starks is just really becoming a super solid writer. His dialogue, his personalities that he's creating, the craft and technical skill in the pace of the script, absolutely top notch. Really liked the artwork. This was almost a pick of the week. But that Batman issue was super crazy. But Pine and Merrimac, issue number 1, I definitely would recommend that. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 11. This is the third and final arc, the final act, if you will, of Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. So this is about a couple in a post-apocalyptic scenario. First arc was how they met, and fell in love. The second arc is how they built a life together and a community of love and how it fell apart. And now here we get the final act where they're both, it's in the future, and we've seen teases of this time, but they're both in the future, still disconnected, and things happen to start putting them back on each other's path. I really love this book. I love these characters. Jason Aaron's been doing a solid job with this book. And you got Nick Dragotta doing the majority of the work in this issue artistically. Absolutely great. I would show you a page, but it's probably going to have some swinging dick in it. So let's just skip that for now. Then we got Giant Robot Hellboy, his name was, issue number 3. This is the final issue of Giant Robot Hellboy, which has just been super fun. A team of scientists, they kidnap Hellboy. They hook him up to this giant mechanical robot Hellboy, use it to fight off these like kaiju monsters. There's this mystery, and that's what this book is. And we get to the end of the series, and it wraps up in a very satisfying conclusion. I really like this book. If you've never read a Hellboy book, you can read it. It's not going to have the depth, nuance, or creepy atmosphere of most of the Hellboy stuff that really soars from back in the day, but this was really fun, and it was really cool seeing Duncan Fegredo come back to do the artwork. Really great stuff in that Mignola school from Giant Robot Hellboy. Then from Dark Horse, we also have Drive Like Hell, issue number 3, written by Rich Douek with artwork by Alex Cormack. This is about a demon who was turned into a car. A dude steals this car. Now he's got demons and angels after him, and his dead girlfriend has been reanimated by this car as well. Really cool stuff. You find out exactly why there are such high stakes connected to this car. Great action, great horror, great comedy. Rich and Alex make a hell of a team together. They've worked before together on Road of Bones, Sea of Sorrows, Breath of Shadows. Drive Like Hell is another winner. Then we've got The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, issue number 6. I thought this might be the final issue, but there's going to be more. I guess it's kind of like an ongoing series, which I think is really gnarly cool. Now, the 6th issue does wrap up the first arc. It does it in a nice, tidy bow. All the characters are now firmly established. This world has been built. It's like playing with the monster tropes, like the classic monster tropes. You got a mad scientist, you got a vampire, you got a witch, you got you got Frankenstein's monster, literally Frankenstein's monsters. You got ghosts. You got these evil groups that are like hunting them down and stuff like that. I really like this book. I like the vibe and the energy. I love the coloring on this book. The coloring, is it Miguel Muerto? It is, and Aditya Bidikar on the lettering. Love the coloring, love the lettering, love the characters, love the story, love this conclusion, action-packed, exciting, and just well-rounded personalities from Tate Bromball and James Tynion IV. Also, we got Maple Terrace, issue number 3. I believe this is the final issue of Maple Terrace. I haven't covered it yet on the channel because I haven't read them on the new release week, actually. This is the first time I've gotten to read it on the new release week. But this is from Noah Van Sciver. I am a fan of his work, and this is a very personal story and silly story that's been building up from issue 1 into issue 2 and now into issue 3. If you like Noah Van Sciver and you haven't checked this out, definitely check it out. It all starts when this dude's just trying to read his brother's copy of Spawn. He messes it up. He goes, takes it out, and buries it somewhere. Then there's this other bully who's like got an issue of Spawn. He takes it. All these different things that have been building up, and they are now coming to fruition here in Maple Terrace issue number 3, Showdown at Vincent's Pizzeria. Lots of 90s nostalgia in here. And in fact, look at the back there. How about back cover of the week right there? Taking us down memory lane, Noah. You got the little ant dudes from Dino Riders. We got Bunny O'Hare. We got the Terminator doll. And he's missing his arm because most people miss their arms. They lose their arms in their Terminator toy. Really freaking cool stuff. Anyway, if you like Noah Van Sciver, if you like indie art, if you like that super cool 90s comic pop culture nostalgia stuff, check out Maple Terrace. I'm sure they'll be doing a graphic novel soon. Then we got Conan the Barbarian, issue number 6. Did I forget the smell of the week? Smell of the week, by the way, y'all, was Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. It smells delicious. Let's describe that smell. Cardboardy. Very much like paper, kind of like a library. Smells like a comic book should, basically. Conan the Barbarian here with issue number 6. Man, what a really cool, solid 2-issue tale we were just told in the pages of Conan. Jim Zub has been doing a hell of a job with this book. Now we got Doug Braithwaite on the artwork here. I like his artwork. It's not quite as riveting as the artwork was in the first arc, but it totally gets the job done. It has that classic feel, and the story has that classic feel. And this is just a badass Conan book. Like, I absolutely love it. Now, I've never really been that plugged into Conan. I remember when I was a kid, I would read my stepdad's issues of Savage Tales of Conan. I would sneak them out. I was just trying to look at monsters and butts and breasts, you know what I'm saying? And this has monsters, butts, and breasts as well, but it's just got this bad ass awesomeness attached to it that is so much fun. So if you are a Conan fan, this is the best Conan book in years, if not decades. This is awesome, awesome stuff. All right, then we got Vampirella Dead Flowers, issue number 4. This is the final issue of the series. It has a very satisfying conclusion. I like the artwork. It actually ends pretty quickly and then sets up a potential for another series. I would love to see Sarah Frazetta come back and do a follow-up to this, especially with the way that it's left dangling. I would really like to see that book. But I really like the book. It got some nice, like, cartoonish artwork to it that I didn't think would really work for the character of Vampirella, but it does work. So this has been a really fun book that I've liked and enjoyed. So Vampirella Dead Flowers, final issue. There you go. All right, a couple collections out this week I want to spotlight. First of all, from Marvel, we have Clobberin' Time. This is Steve Skroce doing a Thing team-up book that is wild, rambunctious, incredibly detailed, and just silly. Just absolutely silly. You got Wolverine in it, you got Doctor Doom in it, you got the Hulk in it. It's just so much fun. If you like Steve Skroce, if you like detailed artwork, really cool, gnarly, wacky, wild, zany stuff, you might want to check that out in paperback this week, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Usagi Yojimbo, Where When. This is Stan Sakai doing what Stan Sakai does best, which is Usagi Yojimbo, and also teaming them up with the Turtles. So this was one of my favorite books of the last year. It has the covers in there as well. If you have never read Usagi Yojimbo, but you know the Turtles, this is actually a good place to kind of jump in and just pick up the vibe of what a Usagi Yojimbo book is like, and then having the benefit of having the Turtles attached to it, so you're a little bit more familiar with things going on. And then check that out. This is my graphic novel trade paperback hardcover collection pick of the week right here. This is the Normal Man Omnibus, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Normal Man, which is a self-published Jim Valentino book that he was doing before he started doing more Marvel work, and then, of course, helped found Image with Shadowhawk. I've never read this stuff. Well, I've read the Megaton Man, Normal Man crossover. I do have a copy of that, which is also included. But this is, I believe, every bit of Normal Man. It says Normal Man 1 through 12, annual number 1, the Normal Man Megaton Man special, the Normal Man 20th Anniversary Special, Journey 13, and Normal Man Stories from Cerebus 56, 57, AV and 3D number 1, and Epic Light number 1, plus extras. Haven't even pulled it out of its shrink wrap yet, but I'm very excited to dive into that. So to recap, Normal Man finally gets a really nice hardcover collection to finally, we get to all check it out. TMNT, Usagi Yojimbo's in print and trade paperback. So is Clobberin' Time. Definitely check those out. Vampirella Dead Flowers, really satisfying conclusion. Conan the Barbarian, just badassery. Maple Terrace, really cool nostalgia dive. A little bit sad because Noah didn't seem to have the best childhood. Oddly Pedestrian Life, Christopher Chaos, a great conclusion to that first arc and a great setup as to what's to come. Drive Like Hell, Alex and Rich together doing what they do, which is just make awesome comics. Giant Robot Hellboy, so much freaking fun with that. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World starts off the final act in dramatic fashion. Pine and Merrimac might be considered your sleeper hit of the week. Really cool stuff about a father-son, or a husband-wife detective agency team Paklis #0, early work from Justin Weaver that's worth checking out. Beware the Planet of the Apes was a decent prequel to the original movie. Captain America goes cover of the week for Jim Rugg right there. Then we got Thanos, just a little bit too goofy for me. I'm done with that. We got that cool Hildebrandt variant cover for Fantastic Four, which is interesting and cool, but just the artwork's just a bit too balloon-like for me, if that makes sense. Amazing Spider-Man, still wearing thin, but that was intriguing enough. Doctor Strange, cool story, not so good at art. Marvel Meow, really charming, cute stuff with cats, and that's pretty much all it is. Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. If you've been following what Orlando's been doing in that title, you'll like that. Kid Venom Origins, collecting all of the Kid Venom short stories from the Death of the Venomverse, so check that out if you're interested. Fall of the House of X, didn't really like it that much, but I'm glad that we're reaching the conclusion. Vengeance of the Moon Knight, issue #1. If you've been liking Jed McKay's Moon Knight, no reason not to follow him onto that. Is a direct continuation. Superman 78, The Metal Curtain, really like that Cold War 80s inspired Superman book right there. Titans Beast World Tour, Atlantis was just alright. Poison Ivy was a little weak this week, but it does set up some stuff. Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, continues its charm. Shazam, no Dan Mora, but it doesn't matter. It still has that sense of fun that we've come to know and expect. Kneel Before Zod, really awesome Superman adjacent book from Joe Casey and Dan McDade. And Batman 141 gets your pick of the week because of awesome kinetic action scenes provided by Jorge Jimenez and really cool concepts all finally coming together by Chip Zdarsky. So that's what I read. That's what I dug. That's what I think. What are you reading? What are you digging? What are you thinking? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, I did release my top 20 video of 2023, so my top 20 comics of last year. That video is live on the channel. Check that out if you haven't already. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so over at patreon.com/PCP. Anyway, I've been Rockin' Robbie. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop, ba-boom!